What have we here? Look at Bob Harris sneaking in on a Tuesday afternoon. It is Tuesday, August 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Did I mention I'm Bob Harris? Because it's true, I am. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel, and it's time for a special Tuesday edition. Ask Me Anything live stream. You know, there's a lot going on today. So we can discuss a bunch of that while we follow a live 10-team PPR mock draft. We haven't done a 10-teamer, and I know some of you have been in those. So before we get to that, FootballDiehards.com. It's the website. We appreciate you joining us here on our YouTube channel every Saturday and Wednesday, and sometimes on Tuesday. Saturdays at noon, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Got a great guest tomorrow night. I'll talk about that in a minute. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell if you have not already. If you've previously completed those YouTube tasks that I have assigned you, hit the like button. It's me, Bob Harris. Like me. You can dislike me too. I'll dislike me first, so if anyone else wants to get in, you won't be alone. Hello, Luke Humphrey. Hello, Mr. Scampers. Scampers in the draft. We are doing a 10-team mock today. We'll start that up momentarily. Hey, Dame. Hey, Iggy. Happy everyone could make it here. Any news today? Anything going on? Anything to talk about? Johnathan Taylor investors? Do you need a hug? I think I do. Good news, Josh Jacobs is ready to roll. Bad news, in case you somehow have not heard, and you probably have, but we'll talk about it anyway because it's going on. Hey, Kevin. Mr. Scampers ready to relieve the tumult of our home league draft. That's why I did this, Scampers. To be honest with you, I thought there are people doing 10-teamers. Let's do one here as well. So we'll start that up momentarily. So yeah, Johnathan Taylor. He did not get traded. I didn't think he would get traded. I thought, if you've heard me on this live stream, thought it was, Pats cut both quarterbacks. What the hell's going on here? Malik Cunningham, as well as Bailey Zappi. I'm sure they're expecting someone to come back, but I don't know how that's going to play out. A lot of kicker moves, too. Headline news, breaking. Kickers traded everywhere. We'll get to that if we need to. I want to go back to Johnathan Taylor. Seemed like the most likely outcome was he remained a Colt, right? You have to pay for him, then you have to pay him. And we all got excited. Miami today made some moves that maybe opened up a little cap space. They have other needs, other things to do along their defensive line. But we kind of thought Myles Gaskin got released. Maybe this is all pointing in the right direction. It did not. Oh, Corey Richmond, 14th team. We should do one. Maybe we'll work one in before we get to the because I've done a couple 14s. Recently, and they are different. So maybe we'll get to that. I'm making note, Corey. But yeah, the Taylor thing was going to miss the first 4 games of the season. This is like, the return to Indianapolis seemed most likely to me. But the injury issue added a level of uncertainty that I wasn't comfortable with. And maybe it's actually, so I'm skeptical, right? I feel like this is a hold-in maneuver. When we heard about this procedure back in February, the reporting was it was minimally invasive. It was, it's invasive, but minimally, I don't know. It seemed like he should have been recovered. And the fact that he wasn't, and then the back came on, you're kind of thinking this sounds like a hold-in. And maybe it is. But maybe it doesn't matter because now he's on the PUP list and he's going to miss 4 games. That automatically diminishes his value. I saw John Bonneville dropped him to running back 35. Feel like that's a fair, and that's the point you get to. Do you still feel like he has the potential to be a league winner down the stretch, wherever he plays? Next trade deadline, October 31st. He can be dealt. We saw Christian McCaffrey move on last year and be in a very effective piece in a potent San Francisco offense. He added to the potency greatly, and Johnathan Taylor might do the same. Or maybe he just gets happy and he realizes, look at this Anthony Richardson guy is really good. Really good. Maybe I should play with this guy. A lot of upside here. I don't know. Jim Irsay is probably the wet blanket on this smoldering ember of possibilities. So we'll see. But I do think John Bonneville has it right. Outside the running back 2 range, he's going to miss enough games, and the remaining uncertainty puts a lot of emphasis. What are we doing with the Colts running backs? Are we really going to start expecting Evan Hull to be the guy? Is that where we're at? John Bonneville, tell me more about this kid in the chat. I know you know. Zach Moss, we know, has the broken arm. Deion Jackson, kind of a known commodity. Evan Hull's the least known commodity of this group. I guess he's looked pretty good so far. They released Kenyon Drake, who was Baltimore's leading fantasy back last year due to injuries and attrition. So Going to be interesting. We'll see what happens here. I mean, expecting Johnathan Taylor to be a super productive piece, I think you're taking your chances right now. I think that, running back 3 range is about the right range to take that chance, just based on the upside. There were some other moves. There were a number of things. We're going to go ahead and start this mock draft up. I really appreciate everyone coming in and joining in on the fun. We've got Scott Kobe in here drafting first. Is all Madfish, Humpy 7, Kevo B, E-Rock 65, Mr. Scampers, Dame Overboard, Paladin 808, America 108, and Spank 2023. I feel like that's a command. I'm not going to take it. Not a command for me. Justin Jefferson, first man off the board. So I've not done a 10-teamer. I'll just go ahead and acknowledge that. It's not been my lane this year, and it rarely is. I should have. You know what? I'm lying. I'm totally lying. I did do a 10-team mock for Fabiano for SI.com. Look at me, just lying outright to you people. You deserve so much better. But I can't remember how it played out. I do remember the 14-team leagues, and I'll tell you this, Corey Richmond, it came off like a 14-teamer. If you missed out, Andy Behrens and I talked about this about a week this past Wednesday. Go check out that video. There is a lot of 14-team draft talk in that one as well. And so check that out. So no big surprises, early in this draft, I don't think. We've got Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, a little higher than maybe you see him otherwise. So I'm curious in the chat, Scampers. I know you've done some 10-team drafting. What kind of, it's like always feels like there's these either, it's like a math equation. We look at it as like a math equation. Okay, everyone just moves down a little bit. A little less needy on the quarterbacks, right? Especially, 10-team, there's plenty of them. Everyone can have 3 and they'll all be starters, and you'd feel pretty good about them. John Bonneville, by the way, agrees with Scampers. Feels like Colts add either a Hunt or Fournette. I also agree with Mr. Scampers and John Bonneville that, so we've heard a couple things. Here's what we don't know. Mysteries. Let's solve the mysteries. Luke Humphrey thinks Hill should go number 2. Boy, there's a lot of upside there, and there is Tua Tagovailoa is growing on me, right? I'm injury agnostic to begin with. I'm not drafting fearful that someone's going to get hurt, even though I know it's entirely likely someone gets hurt. Just anyone can get hurt, right? and I get it if you're worried that some guys can be more likely to be hurt. I don't draft that way. I'm not drafted scared. But if Tua plays an entire season, right? And I'm saying the if, even though I'm not scared, I'm drafting him. I have moved him up in my rankings to quarterback 9. He's moved ahead of Deshaun Watson. Actually, if I moved him up to 8, can I even count? He's number 9. So I'm going Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. I feel like I should move Lawrence up a notch right now. I'm not against Justin Fields, people. Help me out here. Last year, this is what, our boy Fabiano always talks about. Don't draft the magical season. We're kind of drafting a magical season with him, aren't we? Is he going to get that 1,000 yards rushing? Is he going to prove as much as a passer or enough as a passer to make up for whatever shortcomings are as a rusher? Pigskin Panic thinks with Gaskin gone, Hunt is incoming in Miami. I don't know. I think they're happy with the Wilson-Mostert duo, and A-Chain will be there. Scampers, QBs move down. Premium tight ends are more valuable. Interesting. Travis Kelce goes to Mr. Scampers. There's a surprise. Tua knows how to fall now. My QB9 as well. I'm not dismissive of that, right? I mean, he put in the effort. Kudos to him, man. Kudos to you, Tua Tagovailoa. I don't care what Ryan Clark says. I think you're okay, man. I don't care what you're eating. Sounds like he's doing all the right things anyway. Doesn't seem that anyone is interested in just going back here. I'm sorry, I'm scatterbrained right now. I'm all excited and enthusiastic. I love the mock draft. It's Tuesday. I'm not usually doing this on Tuesday. All my friends are here. You're all in the chat having a good time with me. This is the best thing ever. All right. I'll be back tomorrow, by the way. Jordan Fiegelman from Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life will be with me. I'm telling you, they got a lot of smart people at that website. Jordan Fiegelman is like a secret weapon there. You're going to hear from him tomorrow. It'll be great. So I'm going to go back. It's probably going to be a gross committee in Indianapolis. That seems fair. Evan Hull, profile similar to Tony Pollard, athletically early in his career. He is a natural receiver. Boy, they need someone who in the RPOs really threatens opponents at the mesh point to give Anthony Richardson a chance to do what he does remarkably well. So I'm hoping they find that runner, and whether it's a Leonard Fournette. The question for Fournette and Hunt, what we've heard about Kareem Hunt is that he's lost a step. We heard that from the people in Cleveland. That's it. We've just heard it, right? But I've heard it from multiple people in Cleveland. So, that is interesting, right? By the way, don't let me forget to talk about Elijah Moore again, because I think this is interesting. There's been a little more data. If you're out there, Grant Barfield put out a tweet. If you saw me, I talked about this. When did I talk about this? On the radio show, we had Steve King from the Browns Daily Dose on. I believe it was Friday night. And he said that Browns offense is going to run through 3 players. And so you're expecting him to say Deshaun Watson, and he did. You expect him to say Nick Chubb, and he did. Then you expect him to say Amari Cooper, but he didn't. He said Elijah Moore. He said they're scheming the hell out of him. Grant Barfield had a tweet thread today that kind of used some numbers that he's seen of this preseason that backs that contention up. So we shall see about that. Interesting, though. Anyway, Hunt, and Steve King said this as well, that maybe he's lost a step. We shall see. He was a very good runner at one point, not too long ago. Leonard Fournette, why are we seeing nothing about Leonard Fournette? Is it possible he's not in great shape? Is it possible he is not doing the work? We're seeing no workout videos. I mean, you're usually seeing these players out there putting stuff out. Haven't seen anything, so I don't know. I don't want to sit here and pretend I know that Leonard Fournette has gotten heavy, but he's gotten heavy before. It's a Fournette-ish kind of thing, so we'll see. But I've thought all along that like Fournette would be the guy. They trade away. It would be one of those two, Hunt or Fournette. So I'm with you all there. Quarterbacks move now. 2 knows how to fall. I agree. Doesn't seem anyone is too concerned. David Pearson says doesn't seem that anyone's concerned about the soft tissue injury with Cooper Kupp. Seems a bit risky in the first round, although I love having him. I preach the injury agnosticity, right? I'm not worried about drafting players who I fear might get injured. But I'm not stupid. I see the Joey Wright out there giving me the eagle scream. You know I love that, Joey. So I'm not afraid of drafting guys who might get injured, right? But I am not stupid. I don't want to draft injured guys. I feel like Cooper Kupp is, and maybe I just want to be sold on this, right? That's probably it. I want to be sold on the notion that Cooper Kupp is fine. He told me he was. I feel like he's a honest, forthright young man. Sean McVay told me that too. I don't believe he is honest and forthright, but I'm hoping for the best there, right? I mean, so I think Cooper Kupp's my wide receiver 1, right? So I'm going all in on that. But it is a legitimate concern, David Pearson, legitimate concern. But usually he's going a little later. This is a little earlier in the draft, so let's just run through this a little bit. Got Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, who you're usually seeing going probably after the first 5 picks, maybe after the Eckler, after Kelsey, after Diggs, maybe after Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb a little bit at the tail end of this one. It's interesting. Joey Wright does DM me pictures of eagles, and we eagle scream together joyously. It's so much fun. And he does go to a lot of zoos. So I'm very impressed with that. Like this start on the tail end. That's Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard. Man, that could be dominant. We'll see what kind of receivers end up there for Spank 2023. Bijan Robinson makes it in the second round. It would have been the tail end of in a 12-teamer. This seems a little late now. Starting a draft with Chubb and Pollard should be illegal. Just call it now. Taylor was an auto pick. Who took Taylor? Who autoed? Oh. Third round. He's going to go later. I'm not going to call anyone out. Yes, I am. Otto, what's the matter with that? All right, so we'll go down through there. A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Garrett Wilson, Josh Jacobs, Patrick Mahomes, first quarterback off the board. Tail end of round 2, and this seems a little aggressive. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave. So what are you giving up in opportunity cost if you waited by not waiting on Patrick Mahomes? So you lost out on Amon-Ra St. Brown and Chris Olave for sure. I don't know. Devontae Smith's a pretty good consolation prize. Keenan Allen, Josh Allen, Johnathan Taylor. The auto pick is maybe that's why Chris. Okay, I'm caught on to it. Probably Cooper Kupp was an auto pick. Thought he would go later. Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Jahmyr Gibbs. Look at my guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, rising up the ranks. I feel totally responsible for this, people. You've heard me argue the case for Jahmyr Gibbs. I think this is probably a little assertive, a little aggressive. Like to see him. I mean, I'm starting to see him go early in round 2s and 12-team drafts, and I feel like I liked him so much more when he was a 4th-round pick that maybe I'm just letting my disappointment get carried away. I'm getting carried away, caught up in my disappointment that he's no longer a 4th-round pick. I'm fine with him in 3rd. In a 12, we'll see here. You've all heard my argument. If you have not, let me give you the short version. We're drafting Bijan Robinson because of the draft capital expended on him. We're expecting a huge workload because of that. He's running behind a solid offensive line with a nice offensive play caller. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has all those things. He was drafted 4 picks later, a better offensive line. Ben Johnson seems to be a pretty innovative play caller. He knows how to maximize his pieces. If he plays a bigger receiving role early on than we expect, even this could be great. And I'm not arguing against Bijan, but I feel like this is about the right price for him to me. Like, we're drafting everyone. So I was trying to remember who was the last guy. I was talking to someone today on a radio program. They were Canadian. It was great. But they reminded me, Saquon Barkley was the last guy, the first round running back that came in and really made good. I said, but there was one after that, and his name was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and everyone wants to forget about that guy. I mean, it usually works out. I mean, the workload gets there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, probably a bad call by the Chiefs. But, I mean, remember when his ADP was like 6? Oh, my God. In a 10-team league, John Bonneville kind of loves getting the first pick, getting JJ, ASRB, and Olave. That really is a nice start. Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Chris Olave. This is the place to go 0 RB or super hyper-fragile, califragilistic RB, or however you want to play it. It does lead to some fun teams. Pigskin Panic 21, 10-team league are kind of fun teams. It does lead to some fun and some interesting plays. And, like, I feel, something Marcus Grant talks about with 2 quarterback leagues, super flex leagues, etc., is we're not actually increasing the value of quarterbacks. We're just creating more scarcity, so it turns into a race. You could say that about 12 and 14-team drafts compared to 10-team drafts, where you have a little more leeway to experiment or auto-pick weird teams or whatever you want to do, right? So I kind of like this. I kind of like the vibe. I kind of like some of these early starts that four really good wide receivers at Aaron Jones for Team 1. Team 2, Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, Devontae Smith, Kenneth Walker, and Najee Harris. Interesting. Don't see Walker going ahead of Harris. I'm all for drafting Harris's. I would draft Bob Harris over most anyone, but that's just me. Team 3, Tyreek Hill, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper. That's a great start. Love it. Ja'Marr Chase, Garrett Wilson, Josh Allen, Breece Hall. A little early for me. What are y'all feeling about Breece Hall? Throw that in the chat if you'd like. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Breece Hall versus Dalvin Cook. I have a thought about this, people. Dalvin Cook back to practice this very day after spending some paternity time working in young Dalvin Cook Jr., enjoying some time with him. I feel like this is a situation where we're drafting this wrong. I do see mostly Breece Hall still going. I did a mock draft Monday night last night on the Football Diehards radio program on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, which you can listen to on demand. We had Stacey Perez from Fantasy and Frames. And we had Jamie Calandro from Football Diehards, along with me and Mike Dempsey. And Cook went ahead of Breece Hall in that one. I felt like we were all kind of making a stand, though. But honestly, what is the argument for Breece Hall ahead of Dalvin Cook at this point? You look at the capital invested in Dalvin Cook. They didn't pay him nothing. They paid him like almost $8 million with incentives, $7 million. I mean, that's starting money. Austin Eckler says, what? Where do I get that? So, I mean, it's good money. The Jets appear to be in a win-now window, right? I feel like we're drafting these guys backwards a lot. You see Breece Hall still going ahead of Dalvin Cook a lot. You see Dalvin Cook going 6th, 7th, 8th round. I feel like he should be going earlier. Where's the sweet spot for one Alvin Kamara? That's the other question. I think I took him in the we go through 8 rounds in the Monday night mock draft Monday night. And I think I took him. I think I reached a little bit when the 6th round. I had 2 really good backs ahead of him, so I kind of was thinking, here's a good place to take a chance. I did. See where Scampers is at. Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Ramondre Stevenson, and Miles Sanders. Super solid start. I'm liking this. I feel better about these than I do with 14 teams. That's for sure. Dame Overboard starting out with Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, and DJ Moore. It's a nice start. Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. Ooh, there's some players I like on this team. Love Diggs, love Brown, love Gibbs. ETN, nah. I don't know. I mean, maybe ETN feels like a guy I could be totally wrong about. Like, I'm all into the Jacksonville offense 100%, right? This is an ascendant offense. It's going to be much better. Calvin Ridley, by the way, just, listening to the people who cover the team on a daily basis, including my serious co-host, Mike Dempsey, like, he's on point, right? I mean, we've been skeptical, and you can have all that skepticism, but the eyes on the ground are telling us not to be so skeptical. But you look at that, and also just in that Jacksonville receiving room, Christian Kirk is there. He's got a role, but Zay Jones looks like he's going to have a role as well. So interesting how that plays out. But Travis Etienne, I mean, so we're all into Tank Bigsby. We've been talking about him here on the live streams. And for this reason, Mike DeRocco from ESPN told me and told us that he expects this to be the kind of split where it's a couple of series of Etienne and it's an entire series for Tank Bigsby. And we've seen some good play, the fumble, the goal line notwithstanding. Tank Bigsby's impressed, and so it seems like he's going to earn that role. If Bigsby gets a series a game, Etienne's fine. If Bigsby gets 2 series a game, Etienne's slightly less fine. If he gets 3, and that was kind of the range, 2 or 3 is what Mike DeRocco says. 2 or 3, that's starting to worry me a little bit. And again, I feel like the Travis Etienne might be a guy that I'm totally just have a blind spot for, right? Who are some of your blind spot players? Let's talk about that a little bit. Throw those into the chat if you would. Thanks for coming again. It's a weird night. It's Tuesday. Glad we're here. Final cut down day. Wasn't anything too crazy other than the Johnathan Taylor news. If you missed that, sorry. Johnathan Taylor, still a Indianapolis Colt, missing the first 4 games. John Bonneville has proclaimed him a running back 3, and I'm not going to argue with John Bonneville today. Tank Bigsby, great for the wrong in the season, but for now, ETN. Okay, all right. ETN feels like a low-end running back too, and I tend to fade him. But see, and that's the thing. That's the thing. It's not like that I have a blind spot, but I'm cheap. And I'm going, is Connor to Dallas real? I've not heard that. What are we hearing, Corey Richmond? I have to look this up now because I'm interested. You've got my... Not sure what you mean. Tell me more. I'm intrigued by your thoughts. Anyway, back to the real world here. Colts waived Darius Rush. That caught me off guard. I wanted the Vikings to take him over Jay Ward in the 5th. There were some weird things. We talked a little bit about the Patriots letting both quarterbacks go. I think that's odd. Jimmy Graham made the final roster in New Orleans, diminishing my lust for Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson has been growing on me. I've been talking to people there. I've mentioned it before on some of the other live streams in case you missed it. Juwan Johnson, Catherine Terrell wrote of him. He is emerging as Derek Carr's most reliable weapon over the center of the field. I think that is true. Because I also heard it from Mike Triplett from New Orleans Football. So interesting. But Jimmy Graham had a minute there in the final exhibition game. So let's just kind of get caught up where we are on this draft. We are through 7 rounds. David Montgomery, Terry McLaurin. Are we worried about the toe injury? I feel like Terry McLaurin is a guy we are drafting way later than we should draft him. And I know Jahan Dotson's a popular guy in our mock draft Monday last night. Stacey Perez took Dotson ahead of McLaurin. And I don't know if it was entirely because of the injury, right? So let's talk about some of these players here that are interesting to me. Terry McLaurin is one. Jerry Jeudy is another. I feel like that's another case where I want to draft the later guy. And that later guy is Cortland Sutton, who seems to be in a good position to play that X receiving spot that's had great success in this offense. We can go back to Michael Thomas. We can go back to Mike Williams. So interesting. Rumor Connors wants to go to a contender. Moves off the Graham incident pretty quickly. So I wonder what the incident was. I wonder what the incident was. Is it what the Saints say it was, or what is it something else? I don't know. And maybe it moved off the news cycle because it was just what the Saints said. He had a seizure of some kind. I mean, he's been playing a long time. Interesting. I was all in on McLaurin before the injury, but now tend to fade McLaurin because I like taking Dotson later. I think that's a fair argument. I have a lot of Terry McLaurin. I'm hoping the toe is minor, but it does seem like he's very iffy. Jerry Jeudy's the other one I think is very iffy. I mean, several weeks was the initial diagnosis. Cortland Sutton, I think, is going way too late, and already was. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's a great player. It seems like all that, and still, I don't know that he's the right guy. How do we feel about Marvin Mims Jr. is the real question, though. There's an opportunity. I think, Jerry Jeudy's going to be back at some point, but can Marvin Mims get a foot in the door and break into this rotation? Remember, this receiving core is already minus, Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler. Hamler could be back, so I don't want to read too much into that, but not like he's been a huge impact player over the course of time. So as we kind of look at this, looking at the teams and where the quarterbacks went, Justin Fields goes in the 7th round, 6th round. My eyes are blurry. I have to look more closely. Justin Fields in round 6. So Patrick Mahomes, the only quarterback in round 2. Josh Allen, the only quarterback in round 3. Jalen Hurts makes it into round 4, which is kind of where I thought we'd see more of 3 and 4 for those guys. Lamar Jackson right there. Joe Burrow in 5. Interesting that who was next? Was it Trevor Lawrence ahead of Fields? I think I'm changing my rankings, damn it. I already have Justin Herbert ahead of Fields. I'm not down on Fields. Where do we all feel about Fields? Pigskin Panic, like the, let's see, some comments here on the Mims on the Denver receiving core. Have been fading Judy for Mims later. Love some Marvin Mims Jr., says Pigskin Panic. Appreciate that comment. Fully expect Judy to be back by weeks 2 or 3, but feels like re-injury very much on the table. My Cooper Kupp shares don't like that talk of it re-injuring hamstrings. Anthony Richardson and Gibbs for T. Lawrence and Brian Robinson. Who wins this trade in a PPR? As much as I like Gibbs, I'm probably going to say I want to have the Lawrence and Robinson side of that deal. I mean, I like Anthony Richardson too, but it's such a, both those guys, there's a lot of unknowns. I think we're drafting Antonio Gibson ahead of Brian Robinson. We might be doing that one wrong. I hope Gibson turns into a thing, but I'm not sure Brian Robinson isn't going to be a more explosive threat. He was kind of ho-hum last year. Also, he got shot in the knee 6 weeks before the season. Mr. Scamper says his team feels too safe right now. I see some treachery coming. I think it's a pretty damn good lineup, though. Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Ramondre Stevenson, Miles Sanders, James Conner. You had me at James Conner. Justin Herbert, Deontay Johnson. Damn, it's safe, but it's not like it's not without some upside, right? I think that's the thing here. I feel like everyone on this list, except Mr. Autopick, should feel like they have some upside on their rosters. I like a 10 team. I think I should do a 10 team. John Bonneville, I think Fields' ADP is properly valued. I think he finished around quarterback 5 or 6 last year, and the team got better and healthier. Kind of the last guy in that tier for me with quarterback 1 upside. I think that's what you're looking for in that group, like in that tier. I mean, Lamar Jackson could break into that top 3. What Bill Musio call it, the God tier, the Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, whatever order you like them. Who can break into that tier? Lamar Jackson can. He's done it before. The change of offense is very encouraging. Joe Burrows, don't know if he has the running ability, but certainly can throw like that and has the weapons around him to break in. I don't think he has that super high top end because he doesn't run as much, right? I think Justin Herbert can run. Trevor Lawrence can run. Did he run for 5 touchdowns last year? He did. So he can run. So I think and Justin Fields, I think those are all guys who could legitimately move in. I suppose we should say the same of Deshaun Watson if he turns into the Deshaun Watson of old. But man, the reports have not been good out of training camp, or at least not encouraging, right? By the way, we're about halfway through this live stream. If you have more questions, feel free to pop them in. I see some of your questions. I will get to those right now. I'm Bob Harris, in case you just tuned in. Hi. I'm from FootballDiehards.com. It's a website. You can go there, use the promo code DIEHARD, get 15% off anything. We're getting ready to transition from the August update draft guide into the Flash Update premium regular season service, the My Fantasy GM service. Great thing to help you manage multiple teams, which I have and I need. Also, you can hear me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio many times, at least 4 nights a week. Right now, I'll be doing the pregame show again this year with Jeff Mans on Sunday mornings from 11 to 1 Eastern time. So look forward to that. It's one of my favorite shows to do. But also, we'll be on Monday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll be on late, right? We'll be on at like 3 hours on Monday and Thursday. So we'll be in for the game and then an hour after the game. Also, on Saturdays, we do NFL radio. That's simulcast on the Fantasy channel, so watch for that as well. And I'll be here for the live streams throughout the offseason. Also be doing my injury updates. So plenty going on here, people. So let's see. Can I discuss my thoughts on the rookie tight ends and how we will see enough targets to draft as a late starter or bench player? A lot of people in on Dalton Kincaid. That's the Kincaid-Musgrave question down below. So Musgrave looks good, right? I think so. I'm going to start there because I think Musgrave is intriguing to me because I think Jordan Love is something I've been talking about all off season long. So that's why I want to talk about it now. I think Jordan Love probably is going to be a little better than we maybe expected him to be initially. The eyeball test looks good, right? If that's the case, he's got a lot of young, great receivers he's working with, and Musgrave is one of them. Probably, Jaden Reed looks good. Romeo Doubs looks good. Christian Watson looks good. So I don't know. There's a lot of mouths there to feed. So I'm a little less keen on him, but he does look fine. I think Kincaid is the piece that's going to come in and, by all accounts, play that slot role. They love using the slot receiver. It's usually been littler players. Now it's a big player. Kincaid is not a tight end. I mean, he's a tight end, but he's a slot receiver on this team. And I think Sam Laporta is going to get plenty of opportunities as well. I don't like him as my starter, but I like him as my tight end too. And again, there's going to be a lot of meat on the bone there. Hello, Albert. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you showing up. So I do. I mean, I think you could draft Kincaid as your starter. Maybe is a little risky, but you could also get a steadier player after him. I think the upside is sufficient for me in that offense that I'm willing to take that chance. So I would do that. Laporta should also be in that mix. He's going to start. Yeah, he is. He's a day one starter, probably second in line after he's third in line. It is Gibbs, John Bonneville. Said all my investments in Jahmyr Gibbs. But point remains, right? I think that's a fair assessment right there. Corey Richmond, thoughts on teammate? Let me look. Teammate. Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown is a great start. Jahmyr Gibbs is fantastic as well. I love that. Travis Etienne, I'm not sold on, but don't mind him as a running back too. Drake London, am I a little skeptical that all these pieces in the Atlanta offense? I love Drake London. He was my top receiver as I viewed coming out of the draft last year. I thought I ranked him at the top of the wide receivers. Obviously, other players outperformed him. It was because of the offense, I think. So do I trust Desmond Ridder? I'm not sure. Do I trust Arthur Smith as a innovative play caller? Yes. Do I trust him to use his playmaking pieces according to everyone's Kyle Pitts investments to date? No, I don't trust him. So I don't know. I love Trevor Lawrence, love Cam Akers. Okay with Rachaad White, okay with Evan Engram. Love Elijah Moore. If you missed it, a lot of chatter from the people in Cleveland and the fantasy analysts watching Cleveland that Elijah Moore's role is going to be pretty robust. Anthony Richardson as a second quarterback, that lottery ticket, I love it. And there's Dalton Kincaid. I think this is the way. This is solid, man. I like all these teams. I don't want to just say name overboard. The Eckler, Barkley, Higgins, Mixon, Moore, Godwin. Look at that range of wide receivers right there. DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, Jordan Addison. That's nice. A.J. Dillon. I think he's maybe being a little bit overlooked. David Njoku, Dak Prescott. Some good teams. Spank 2023 has gone to auto, so we'll see what kind of wide receiver he's getting, but kind of can afford to after starting out with that Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley. I like that start. Jalen Hurts, J.K. Dobbins, TJ Hockinson. Where'd my guy Darren Waller go? Round 6. Wow. Waller going about in a 12 and a 10 team about where he's been going in 12s. Kittle ahead of him surprises me a little bit, but that's an auto, so maybe not totally surprising. But the rest of that Spank 2023 team, love this range of receivers he has here. The Pickens, Dotson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Look, I have a little blind spot for him. I hope I'm wrong. We'll see how he recovers from the injury. Treylon Burks, though, I think is a great pick. I guess great Smith. Juju Smith-Schuster. Maybe an overlooked commodity in round 12. Hell yeah. Quentin Johnston. Where are we at on him? We'll ask John Bondeville for his thoughts on Quentin Johnston. Talking to people in Los Angeles, Joe Reedy from the Associated Press feels like Johnston's locked in as the number 4 right now, behind Josh Palmer and the 2 starters. That'd be interesting, right? Get your guy, but Gibbs in the 3rd of a 10 seems early. I agree with that. Kincaid plus Higbee, Okonkwo, Schultz have been my approach if I miss on Waller, Goddard. See, Higbee to me is the saving grace. Joey Wright, don't you start yelling at me about Higbee. Front Yard Fantasy Draft Guide, I can tell you that. It's not big on Higbee. I'm big on the target share. Let's see. Love Scampers Graph, says Gregory. Lashinsky. Did I do that right, Gregory? Loves Camper's draft, especially if he picks up the Schultz, Okonkwo, Porta at tight end. Also like the Scott Kobe. So let's go back to Scott Kobe's. You know he's going receiver heavy early. The Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson. That is a hell of a start. Add in Justin Fields, David Montgomery, who I may be overlooking because I'm so focused. So focused. I've heard this Quentin Johnston is the perfect handcuff talk. I've heard this talk. I heard if someone called in my radio show and asked me about this. Brian Robinson, Samaje Perine, Jared Goff is the second quarterback. There's Sam Laporta. Kyle Pitts, a lot of upside at the tight end position. Man, that's looking good. Team 2, McCaffrey. Go ahead and start throwing in the chat which teams you like the best. Which team you would like to roll with in here. And maybe some of the values that you see that you feel like even in a 10-teamer maybe could have gone earlier or later. I know Dame throws out that Gibbs in the 3rd seemed like a little bit high. I feel like it was too. Maybe it's because I want him so damn bad, and I feel like I don't want to overpay for him. I feel like I'm starting to have to overpay for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm kind of blaming me a little bit. I've been talking him up like crazy. God. I need to stop. No, I don't need to stop doing that. I'm talking good. Like I talk up Darren Waller. I speak lovingly of Darren Waller. Why do I speak lovingly of Darren Waller? Because the people who cover that team on a daily basis speak lovingly. So I do a lot of this based on what I'm hearing from people who are eyewitnesses on the ground. I like to play those hunches. Look, it's one piece of the puzzle, right? Beat writers are not endlessly correct about their takes, but they are there on the ground and they are seeing things, right? So I think that's, I like to talk. I talk to usually 6 of them a week, right? Because I think it's very helpful, and we dig deep and we press them just like we press Steve King. Like when Steve King comes on my program, it says the 3 top pieces of this Cleveland offense are Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, and Elijah Moore. I say, what? Come on, man. Elijah Moore? Why not Amari Cooper? And he explains why not Amari Cooper. Game overboard. Just a mock, but I'd rage quit if I didn't get Justin Ross in honor of making him the 53. Justin Ross. So talk to Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest, and I pressed him. Is Justin Ross a thing or not? And the answer was, I don't know yet. But he's not a thing for sure, right? I mean, and I think in this offense, you're playing with Patrick Mahomes, where the number 1 wide receiver is determined play to play by Patrick Mahomes, because that's how this offense is designed. They aren't designed to lean. When they said see it at Tyreek Hill, they told us what the plan was. They told us. They said, we have a great quarterback that we spent $500 million on. We have a great tight end, and we're going to cobble it together at wide receiver with whatever we got. Well, Justin Ross is one of the things they got. I mean, I think there are going to be weeks where he does something, right? And maybe they'd like Kadarius Toney to be that wide receiver 1. He's got a lot to prove. I mean, I think there are still people out there who are convinced he's just a gadget player, and maybe he is. Maybe he's never more. But are we going to have Marquez Valdez-Scantling weeks? Yes. Are we going to have Sky Moore weeks? Yes. Are we going to have Rashee Rice weeks? Well, not unless he starts catching the ball better. But yes. and maybe some Justin Ross weeks. I'm into this. I'm into it. I was going to say Team 10, but it's not San Francisco. Taking another quarterback doesn't make sense. When you have Hurts, now it's time to pivot. Now he has to pivot to Team 4. So Team 10 was his favorite. The second quarterback, I mean, I get it. Inject Ross Twitter clips to it. Matt Waldman is with you, my friend from the rookie scouting portfolio. Loves Justin Ross as well. So there's a lot to like there. Team 10, I do like the start for Team 10. The Chubb, Tony Pollard, Ridley, Hurts, Dobbins, who I think maybe is in line finally. Finally, the pieces are coming together for him. We shall see. But I think at that price, you doesn't have to. TJ Hockinson at a great value compared with the other tight ends where they're going. Pickens, some upside there. Jahan Dotson, tons of upside. Jackson Smith-Njigba, even if I don't love him, I don't dislove him. Don't dislove him. Just got news. Jackson Smith-Njigba, this just in, back at practice, according to Bob Condotta. I'm not lying. It just came in. I lied earlier, but I'm not lying about this. It's here. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, after the wrist surgery, back on the practice field, so good on him. So, yeah, I like that team. Good stuff. There's the draft is over, so we got plenty of time for other questions and to review this draft. So, again, throw it into your chat. Wouldn't have taken Dak knowing I could get Jones this late. I think that's, one of the things about this. We're taking a look at that. Look at that. Daniel Jones in the last round. Oh, my gosh. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, where are we at? Like, I'm still, totally Tyler Lockett-centric. Like, I'm passing up on DK earlier to get Lockett a little later. And I remember many drafts where I've seen JSN go ahead of Tyler Lockett. I don't think Tyler Lockett's going away. My friend, the King, Scott Engel, who covers fantasy football for Seattle Seahawks, the Seahawks.com website, agrees with me. Dobbins, just a guy. Look, Pigskin Panic. So far, I mean, I can't argue. He's a guy with, super great explosive traits that he has not yet fully taken advantage of. If he could do that. Ravens release Melvin Gordon seems to be indicated confidence in Dobbins' health. I would agree with that as well. Gus Edwards is still going to be there. That dude averages 5 damn yards a carry. Tua getting autoed as the second quarterback was disappointing as a late-round QB guy still. Yeah, so let's look at the auto team so we can throw them out the window. Tyreek Hill, Josh Jacobs. I believe Team 3 was autoed throughout, right? Well, maybe not throughout. The Team 5 was definitely autoed throughout. The Johnathan Taylor is the tell there. Mr. Scampers pounced on Herbert since he fell behind Fields and Lawrence. I think that is, I just want to look again at my rankings because I think I have made the switch here. So I'm going right now. Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Burrow, Jackson. I have Herbert at 6, ahead of Fields at 7, and Lawrence at 8. And I feel like Lawrence wants to move up 1. I feel like he does. I have Tua at 9. I have Deshaun Watson still at 10, and Dak Prescott at 11. Saw Marcus Mosher, my friend, who Locked On Cowboys podcast, made a really good point about the Cowboys offense averaging 29 points a game with Dak Prescott at quarterback, and we all want to think he's not good. He wasn't good last year, but thinking he's not good is a mistake. I have Kirk Cousins at 12, Daniel Jones at 13, Geno Smith at 14, Goff, Rodgers, Anthony Richardson, Russell Wilson, all those guys. Derek Carr. Derek Carr finished closer to the 12. I would not be surprised. That offense looks like it's going to be good. Brock Purdy could easily out, but there's a lot of late quarterback talent available. A healthy Matthew Stafford if Cooper Kupp stays healthy. Jordan Love. Ryan Tannehill has been a top 10 quarterback, people, in my lifetime. Okay, that's a big window. That's got a little too much room. But in recent years, so, man, so much quarterback. And a 10-teamer, this is the point that we're making here, was that you could have waited on quarterback. Dame Overboard said the same. So Gregory likes, let's see, I missed a comment here. Great show. Thank you, Big Skip Panic. I appreciate it. You guys are so great for coming. I love doing this. So much fun talking about football. I like getting you involved in the conversation as well. So really appreciate y'all coming. Tua getting out of the second round, doing time around things. First 8 picks are fire, but don't love it after that. Let me see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't dislove it. I mean, I like Dak where she got Dak. I like Bateman. See, I'm a little keener on Bateman maybe than the world. Damian Harris, All the Harrises are going to do fantastic. But Damian Harris flashed a little bit, I think. It's got the Justin Ross, Tyler Algier. I don't dislove it. I love the top of that roster though. And Dame agrees with John. Gregory says Scampers, Scobie, Spank, and Humpy. Humpy is team 3 with a lot of autos. I like the early portion of that, like the Tyreek Hill, Josh Jacobs. That's a good build, right? Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Joe Burrow, Darren Waller. Darren Waller. Pardon my enthusiasm. Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown is one of those guys. My mantra has been, we are all overinflating our fears of quarterback situations. Less than ideal quarterback situations does not mean no quarterback. A lot of players last year with less than ideal quarterback situations fared really well. We'll start with those Seahawks. Now, the quarterback play ended up being better than we expected, but that's like on the range of possible outcomes. Maybe not for Arizona. Maybe. What are we doing in Arizona? What is Arizona doing? Are they literally taking? I mean, because players have to be on board. The players aren't going to be on board with that. Saw Florio put out an article on Pro Football Talk today where it's like, are they just ensuring Jonathan Gannon is a one-and-done head coach by asking him to come in and tank? I don't know. Would you have taken Mixon or Stevenson over Gibbs? That was my choice in the 3rd. I would probably not have. Well, I mean, it's very close. I've moved Gibbs ahead of Stevenson. Maybe I'm just disappointed that he didn't last longer because I thought it was a 10-teamer. So Taylor throws things a little out of whack. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have Gibbs going right about where he's going, and I would have had Stevenson going ahead of him, but I have him ahead of Mixon. So, Corey, I don't think it's I think more. I'm just like wish he was going later. So maybe that's the thing. Because I probably am taking Gibbs over Stevenson right now, because I've talked myself into it. I think but it's a close call. Pounced on Hurts since he fell behind Fields and Lawrence. 3 was in and out. So, okay, JSN is a baller, but I agree you have to rank Metcalf and lock it ahead. Far ahead. I agree with that. We'll see. So here's the theory of my friend Matt Waldman. He believes that we are seeing an evolution of the Seattle offense. It's in progress. And it started with Shane Waldron was hired as the offensive coordinator there. It comes from the Sean McVay offense. And that we're going to see JSN at some point become the Cooper Kupp of this offense. Matt doesn't think it's going to be this year, but he thinks it's coming. And so, I mean, maybe we can see that evolution coming a little bit. And they go away from from leaning as heavily on the running backs to more leaning on more receivers. So that's an interesting theory. Sutton, midnight, thoughts on the wide receivers I took over him. Mr. Scamper says, I think Deontay Johnson should go ahead of him. I think who else was going ahead of him? I mean, look at that range of guys. I would like Mike Evans probably deserves to go. Dotson probably, you could make the argument. I mean, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are 2 more where I think we're overstating the quarterback fears a little bit. They're going to have a quarterback at Tampa Bay, and Mike Evans is going to get 1,000 yards. John Bonneville, JSN coming to Cooper Kupp, and just hearing that just got chills. That's Waldman's argument, and I kind of get it, just the point of Waldron being there as the play caller, and I think we've kind of seen a little bit of a shift in if they have the right quarterback. If Geno Smith is the real thing. Bidwell is a bozo. We're back to Arizona. We are doing absolutely nothing in Arizona. It's tough, man. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Sutton in the mid-ninth, I think, is a great value even in this 10-team league. And I'm like in on Sutton, and I think that part of that is that Jerry Jeudy ran 6. Yeah. I mean, relative value to me, I like Sutton at that relative value to Jeudy. In a 14-team, half PPR drafting 4th. Expect Jefferson, Chase, and CMC, the top 3. Thinking Kelsey at pick 4th. I think go back and watch the Andy Barron's video that we did a week or so ago. He talks a lot about this. But yes, Kelsey at 4th. Fine with it. You're not getting him anywhere else. You're getting the leverage over the field. Andy makes this argument really well, but it's not hard to make, right? You're getting a player that is almost certain to give you leverage over the field. I mean, almost every single year, 2 years ago, was it? Maybe Andrew's big year. But beyond that, I mean, it's hard to imagine him taking such a drop that I would not take him. And if you want him and you're drafting in the first round and you're drafting fourth, he's not going to be there in the second round. You don't, it's perfectly defensible, Corey. We've been doing this all off season long. Started drafting best balls in February, and that's been the argument all along. I've seen Kelce go 101 in many, 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 many drafts. At least one of them by me. So, and that's the thing about the first round. You only get one chance. And that's why I thought Andy's conversation that we had about Andy Behrens from Yahoo about the auction draft is such a great thing, where he wants to get at least 2 first-round picks on his team. I think that's a great, great thing. I love that. Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. going to turn it around, incoming in Arizona. That's the theory, right? Can't imagine Murray is on board with sitting out once he's healthy, and he's a Lincoln Riley guy. Maybe that's why Caleb was already putting out there that he could return all leverage. Yeah, I mean, it's totally up in the air. We read a lot into this, and like ask last year's Houston Texans about tanking. Players have something to say about this, right? So does the coach. I like Marquise Brown. That being said, there's nothing but pure ass coming out of Arizona. Look. I'm not going to stand for Jonathan James Conner slander here, sir. Everyone knows I'm all in on James Conner. My friend Liz Loza did a really nice little thing. If you saw the video where she talked about Conner's numbers without Kyler Murray, very impressive, right? Just think that there's such a clear path to workload. Who'd they let go? Corey Clement got let go today. Was one of their final cuts there. So it's Keontae Ingram and Tyson Williams. That's it. They didn't add anybody else. They didn't get a piece. They didn't even pretend. What else are they going to do? I like that. Like that a lot. Like James Conner a lot. I feel like just to be transparent, I think my best ball 10s shares, and I quit drafting best ball 10s. I draft that probably from February until about June when I started getting more into underdog. And I got like a 40% share of James Conner. I still think I'd go Eckler there in a 14-team league. I think that's fair. But if you really want Kelce, if you really want that leverage over the field, I think you can make the argument. Seems unlikely he has similar touchdown production. Every year, fantasy experts tell you that touchdown regression is a thing. And every year, Austin Eckler says, no, it is not, sir. Hill really attempting for me. Probably prefer both. So Corey is looking between Kelce, Hill, Eckler at 4. I think you can make strong arguments for all of them. To me, Kelce is the locked in piece, right? I mean, like so is Hill, so is Eckler. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong, but I'm not going to talk you off of Travis Kelce there. And we'll see what comes back around. You might find yourself in a 14-teamer. That's maybe a good landing spot for Patrick Mahomes. To Mr. Scampers, don't tease me with Tyson Williams mentions. All right, everyone, I've got a few minutes left here for a few more questions, and I got to go do a draft right after this. Anyone else drafting tonight? I'm looking forward to that. So here's what happened. We have a military appreciation league we do for Sirius, right? We're doing one this year. We did one last year. Sirius didn't set the not auto renewal or turn off the auto renewal. So all these veterans thought I was drafting with them again. And so I don't want to disappoint everyone. So I'm drafting with them again. Thanks to George Reed for throwing that out. It's a 12-team PPR, a pretty standard affair there. Nothing fancy. So I'll be doing that. And looking forward to it. It's great. Great bunch of people, and they had a great time with them last year. Corey Richmond drafting. Let's see. What do I got going tomorrow? I'm getting invited to a mock draft tomorrow night. I think I might be able to do that after this live stream. Be back tomorrow night. Did I mention Jordan Fiegelman's here? Look, people, I'm telling you, Jordan is like super smart. But man, has some really interesting thoughts about his approaches to tournament play. If you still want to get into Best Ball Mania 4 or whatever, or if you've been playing some large field tournaments, really great stuff there. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate everyone coming once again. You have a lot of choices out there. There's a lot of great content. You guys, if you're out there in the chats, I'm out there as well, consuming oodles of it. out there searching the field for guests, because why? I have a radio show, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, Football Diehards, Monday, Thursday, Friday. We'll be on at 10 p.m. Monday and Thursdays in the season, we'll be going 3 hours. So it'd be fantastic. Corey Richmond wants to know where we feel comfortable drafting Taylor, and and Dame wants to know how we'd feel with Keenan as your wide receiver one. I have many leagues, Dame, where Keenan Allen is my wide receiver one, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Like, we saw the upside down the stretch last year with him and Williams both on the field. This offense and Eckler, this offense is off the charts capable, right? Maybe if they're throwing the ball down the field a little more, which was our expectation under Kellen Moore, that'd be great. But what was Keenan Allen on his return from injury last year? Wide receiver 6th? So, yes, love him. Where would I feel comfortable drafting Taylor? I think John Bonville laid it out as my running back 3. If I have if I'm really comfortable with my first 2 running backs and I don't feel like I'm taking a chance with either of them, I'm going in on Taylor as a 3 and hope for that late season upside. You need to win the games to get you there, so you need a couple good backs ahead of him, and we'll see if other people watch that. Thank you, TJ Slaughter. I enjoyed you watching this. It was fantastic having you here. So John also still in on Keenan Allen as an alpha. Is Wandale worth a stash? And Scott Fishbowl, now that Malik Davis got released by the Cowboys. Yeah, Malik Davis, man. That's a shame. Kind of felt the same. Turns out Rico Dowdle had something else in mind. And maybe even Deuce Vaughn. Who knows? We'll see. It's very interesting. Yeah, I think Wandale might be worth a stash. Get on that waiver wire, Scampers. I've got to make some moves, too. Will Lutz. I survived the Will Lutz. I was watching that final exhibition guy and thinking, wow, this is going to be this guy, this group or whatever his name is my guy's getting cut. And instead he got traded. There's kicker trades today. What are we doing here, people? What's all this interest in kickers? I don't know. Anyhow, I'm back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Jordan Fiegelman from Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life will be here with me. I'll be back again on Saturday. Appreciate you coming and watching all that. Check us out on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Go to the FootballDiehards.com website, where you will find an ongoing stream of news and information, some great articles that we have going up from a fantastic group of writers. Just some really, really good stuff that I enjoy immensely. Gary Davenport, of course, you all know, doing his thing. Casey Joyner, the football scientist who you see on this very live stream. Stacey Perez. Who else we got? Oh, Tara Roberts doing some things out there. John Law, you know the correct cast. We've got some great people out there producing great work. So really appreciate the effort and your attention here on the live streams. And again, back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Back Saturday at noon. Football Diehards, the rest of this week. Special Friday night. Special Football Diehards. We'll be on NFL Radio. We'll be on from 7 to 10, a 3-hour show. It'll be replayed on both NFL and fantasy. So we'll do 7 to 10 on NFL Radio Friday night. Then they'll replay it at 10 p.m. on the Fantasy Channel. We'll have some big guests. And then we'll be doing the usual thing. But a big special on NFL Radio on Sirius. Channel 88 instead of 87 on Friday night, 7 to 10. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and your attention. Look forward to doing it again tomorrow.